Welcome, friends. So this is going to be a little bit of a different type of video. It's one that I've been meaning to make, been struggling to make, and been putting off from making. I do a lot of Eurovision videos, and you see a lot of my reactions and stuff like that, but I want to talk about something serious today. Really need to make some of these videos for my path to healing, because there's a lot of issues that I've had growing up that I have never addressed or kind of stowed behind, and I think the only way to heal or get over them is to talk about them. And one of them is the death of my mother, who passed away from breast cancer, and it's been 13 years, but I really haven't talked about it much other than to some close friends, and I haven't talked about it at all in a long time. So I'm going to talk about it today. If you aren't interested in my personal life or story, I understand. You don't have to watch. There will be tears, I'm sure. Just in thinking of doing this video, I teared up many times. It's Mother's Day tomorrow in the United States. I don't know if it's celebrated worldwide or where else it's celebrated, but they kept announcing it at work, and I kept tearing up at work and stuff. I want to kind of tell my side of the story and my thoughts on it, and then kind of help just liberate myself. There's various topics I have, growing up that I want to talk about, and I think all this will be a path to healing. So this will, be something like a 4 or 5 part series, and I'll do it as I see fit. But again, this is a more serious video, and I want to be goofy and probably be some tears, so expect that. There's been a lot of... It'll be a little rambly too, and if I get too bad, I'll just edit and cut out if I need to, because it's hard to talk about this. It really is. So, my mom was an incredible person growing up, an incredible influence on me, and I went through a lot of my life feeling like I was completely worthless, that I sucked at life, that I was terrible at sports, terrible at music, terrible at everything. And my mom always did a really good job of lifting me up and making me feel like I was worth more and that I was smart. And, the last thing I want to do is completely demonize somebody, but my dad had a lot of instances where he drank a lot and said some horrible things, did some bad things. And I'm not going to get too much in detail of that because I'll talk about some of the other stuff in another video. But my dad was, my family was a very strong family and very good for the most part. There were some things and some issues here and there that happened, just like all families. But my mom was always kind of the one that I felt supported me and had my back. I can't say that about everybody, that I've ever been friends with or family members. My mom was the one that I could be like the worst person in the world, and she'd be, mad at me for a day or two, and then, we'd talk and make up, and, I'll talk about some of the crap I did here. This will probably be a long video, so if you're interested, watch it. If not, don't. I'm making it more for my own selfish therapeutic reasons, so we'll see. But getting into it, my family used to take trips together and, close-knit hugs every night, still with the problem of the alcoholism and stuff. In general, we were very tight for most of my life. When I was I believe I was in 3rd grade, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And back then, it was almost a death sentence because it was, there wasn't the medicine to take care of it. It just was a different time. And unfortunately, we were terrified that, we were going to lose her. I think I was a little more oblivious. Me and my sister, we were a little more oblivious to the fact that she could be susceptible to cancer and die. But we we decided to go to the Bahamas. Let me put this up here. Oh, I can't do this, but yeah, this is my mother right here. That's her picture. I guess I have a lot of features and I look like her, is what I am told often. But so in third grade, we were going to the Bahamas, and I didn't know it at the time, but it was because we thought she was gonna, or my dad thought she was gonna die. My parents had talked about it, and so this was kind of her last trip, say goodbye kind of thing. So we went to the Bahamas, and my sister and I were probably a little oblivious to the fact that that's the reason we were going, potentially because I thought she was going to die. And so we were in the Bahamas and had a good time and everything. And then, my mom, we came home and she started the chemo and the treatment and everything like that. When you're young, I don't know. It's really hard. I'm speaking of some of this. I'm trying to speak from everything so I can kind of, any blame I have on myself and anything I felt, I'm trying to shed that. But just the chemo and everything. As a young child, I was always in doctor's offices. We were always going to see the cancer doctor, the oncologists, everything. We spent so much time in hospitals, and it was just being a kid, and I give my dad a lot of credit because he'd take me and my sister out for Chinese food or something, or she'd go to the doctor's office and we'd go somewhere else. My parents tried the best to keep us as normalized as possible, even being little kids. But she had the radiation and lost all of her hair. And as a kid, you see your mom like that. I hate having these feelings, but it's almost like you're scared because you don't recognize her. And, she's lost her hair, and you're not embarrassed. She's your mom. You're, happy to have her, but you have these feelings of she's not the same person. How it feels like when you're a kid. Obviously, I got over that. I'm just recalling the first time I saw her and how it was almost scary to see her without the hair and everything, and I know how bad she felt. It was terrible. As a kid, selfishly, I worried about how friends would see it at school, and how you don't think about what she's going through. When you're a child, you think of, how are my friends going to see me, and how is this going to be a reflection on me? You're all focused in yourself. You don't really have that caring heart yet. At least, I know me and my sister talked about that a little bit, just the appearance, and worried a little too much about that. But even through all the chemo, my mom was so strong, and she had a lump in her breast cancer, and they were able to get rid of the cancer. And at the time, it was such a huge deal because it seemed like, things were looking really bad for a while. She beat it. And, I mean, just an incredibly strong woman. And I'm very happy that we got a lot more time with her, because she could have passed away when I was, 8, 9, 10 years old. And so it was very nice for us to have our mom and be able to have her. She was there for, a much longer time. I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit. I'm just trying to think. But it was always hard going to the doctor's appointments, and I just remember like my mom tried so hard to make us happy. Like she was in such bad condition and she was just sick and weak and tired, and she tried so hard to make me and my sister happy. There's one day we went out and we were doing some running around, and just one of the kind things my mom did. We went to the pet shop because we used to always go to the pet shop because I've been in love with animals my entire life. And so we go to the pet shop and we go by the kitties. And there's this little kitty in the cage that keeps like reaching out and trying to, get us to pay it some attention. A little black kitty with a white spot on his chest. And he's reaching out at my sister specifically. And my mom just had the softest heart for cats. She loved cats. So she kind of said to my sister, this cat just kind of feels like he really wants to come home with us. And so we don't have enough money to go out to lunch, because a lot of days we'd go out to lunch to restaurants. She's like, we don't have enough money with the bills to go out to lunch and get the kitty. But what do you guys want? Do you want to go out to lunch or do you want to bring the cat home? And of course we chose to bring the cat home. And he was a member of our family until my mom passed away. And unfortunately, when I talked about my dad's mean side, he didn't like cats. And the moment my mom passed away, my dad kicked the cats out and they were left to be on their own. That's another story. I'll get to that. But we got to bring the cat home, and he ended up being, just one of the best, most lovable cats I've ever had. I've had quite a few cats in my life, and dogs. We always had Labrador Retrievers. We had 3 Labrador Retrievers and a pit bull growing up. We had a orange tabby named Okie. He was with us for about 17 years. He was an outdoor cat. We had him inside sometimes, but he didn't like to be cooped up. And then we had Fat Mr. Cole, that kitty I just told you about. We brought him home. He ended up becoming an obese, fat, lovable, huggable cat. Just the best cat that you can imagine. So funny. Weird, creepy. Someday I'll get into details about him. But we had all kinds of other cats too. My mom was a big cat lover. And she always wanted to save and help all the kitties. So, yeah, we got to bring the cat home. And she always made the effort to not let her illness or disease affect our childhood, whenever she could. So fast forward to when I was 17 years old. She had beaten cancer, and she was cancer-free for about 8 years. And so I was going to school, everything was normal, everything was fine. My mom still went to cancer checkups every, I don't remember if it was every year or every other year, but she would still go to checkups. Well, one day I got home from school and everybody was home, and she kind of sat us down and told us it came back. We're like, what? You've been cancer-free. It's after like 7-8 years you're supposed to be in the safe zone. It's not supposed to come back. Like, what the hell? Why are we, not again. You're not supposed to have the problem again. And why her? Like, she was the nicest person ever. Why does she have to deal with this twice in her fucking life? I don't know. Why? Of all the people, why did she deserve that twice, 2 times in her entire life? to have to go through that. I don't get it. I don't understand. Still, just, I don't know. Just, it's hard. It's hard even to talk. I've never dealt with this, I've never actually talked about it and put it all out there, and I'm trying to do that so I can move on. And so, unfortunately, she had the cancer again, and the doctor who was taking care of her missed the cancer, and they found it way too late. By the time they found it, it not only come back in her breasts, but also spread to her lymph nodes. And it started spreading to her bones, and then it spread to her brain. Because the doctor missed a diagnosis, and a blatantly obvious sign of cancer she missed. And she got in trouble for it, actually, the doctor. I'll never... The woman who killed my mother, Dr. Sacris, the one who didn't care enough to give the x-ray a thorough enough scan and, see. So, my mom starts asking the doctor, I'm 3 years older than my sister. So I was going to graduate high school the next year, and she asks the doctor, how much time do I have? The doctor said, well, what are your goals? What do you want to be around for? What do you want to see? And she's like, well, first I want to see my children graduate. Will I be able to make my son's graduation in a year? And the doctor said, yeah, you should be fine to make your son's graduation. What about my daughters? And he said, we can try, but it's probably not going to happen. So, yeah, it's really weird thinking about how you can have a timeline put on your life. Like they have an idea of when you can go, but they don't know for sure. And she's asking all these questions. The cancer is now terminal, and she can only really maintain it rather than get rid of it. It's never going to go away. So she continues with treatment as much as she can. They tried a surgery. The surgery was overall unsuccessful. She got the lump removed, but more happened. It kept spreading and got worse. And so, just real quick, I graduated, and she was able to make my graduation and everything, which was great. I actually have the next picture. That's her. Unfortunately, that was about a year and a half before she passed away. It's her with my aunt and my uncle, and she's got a wig on there. She would have been a little bit stronger here, but still not very, very strong there. And then the next picture, I think this is the last picture ever taken of her, actually. I'm not sure completely, but that's me. I'm showing a sheep because I made a master showmanship for my county fair. I was in 4-H, and we'd show animals, and I won a competition for my barn. And so I got to show 9 different species of animals, and sheep happened to be one of them. And so that's her right behind me. That was taken in probably, this would have been July, so this was 7 months before she died. So Yeah, I have the sheep there, and I hate showing sheep. They suck. So I'll go back here and sheep. My mind's wandering, drifting. So my first year of college, I stayed home, and it was terrible. I hated it. Um, I was originally going to go away to West Virginia, and actually my mom went with me to go check out the college, and I was going to go to the Virginia University of West Virginia. I can't speak. University of West Virginia, the Mountaineers. I was going to go do that because I had a friend that was going to go, and we were going to go together and be roommates and everything, but he decided not to go. So I delayed my application, and I applied to Purdue, and I was accepted into Purdue, so I just decided to stay at home at one of the regional campuses, and it was terrible. I couldn't focus on school. I hated driving between home and the 45 minutes it took to go to school every day. I just wasn't into it at all. So I applied to and got accepted to the University of Wyoming, which was far away from home. I always wanted to go far from home when I was there. There are other issues, like I said, that I'll talk about that I wanted to get away from. And so I went away to Wyoming. And I don't know if I was running from the cancer and the situation that I didn't want to watch my mom die, or I mean, I wanted freedom anyways. I was getting all these college books when I was a sophomore, junior, and I was trying to look at going to Wyoming or Montana, I guess, before I even had the thoughts that she was going to have cancer. So I was planning to go away anyways. I always wanted to go out west. That was always my dream. I love the mountains. I love the ocean. My soul is connected to those areas, and I love, animals so much. So I loved like the moose and the deer, and the idea of going out and getting to photograph them and chase them around, which I did. But yeah, I ended up going to the University of Wyoming, 1,000 miles from home, pretty much. And my dad drove me out there, dropped me off, and another good memory, kind of, half and half. I told, my parents I wasn't going to be home until Christmas because, it's very far. It's hard to go home. But I actually ended up surprising my my family and coming home for Thanksgiving. So I go to Denver, and I had to fly Denver to Chicago. Got in a bus, snuck back home. I walked back into the house and was able to sneak in undetected. And I just kind of fell asleep on the couch. And then I saw my mom, and the difference in her from August when I saw her to November, she looked like a walking skeleton. She had lost so much weight. She could barely walk. It just was. For the last year of her life, she was so afraid of seeing people because she didn't want people to see her like that. She didn't want people to see her in that condition. So she hid away in her room for most of that. And she'd come out and, be with us, but she would stay in there mostly. And when I came home, it was just terrible to see her in that bad of a shape, and you just knew it was coming. I mean, it was awful. It was nice to be home for Thanksgiving and spend that last Thanksgiving with her, though, because that was important. So I go back to school, and I come home for Christmas, and God, there's two things toward the end that really upset and bother me that I want to talk to. my personal selfishness, and these are things I need to try to forgive myself for or get over, because they're holding me back in my life. Because I need to stop telling myself constantly that I'm a piece of shit. And it's hard to not do that because I feel like it. I feel like a terrible person sometimes for a lot of reasons, but this is one of them. I came back for Christmas, and I spent a couple weeks at home. And my friends wanted to set me up with a girl, so I went out with her. And the problem is I liked her. Of course, it was nice to date, I guess. And then I ended up going out with her like 5 other times during that break, 2 weeks, which that's time I should have spent at home. That's time I shouldn't have been going on dates. I would go in and I would ask my mom, who's barely able to talk or anything, oh, can I borrow the car to go see this girl? And, she let me use it. And so I'd go take their car and go see the girl. And I did it about 5 times and didn't spend that time at home. It was a relationship that wasn't going to go anywhere because I was going back to school. She was in like cosmetology school. So it wasn't a relationship ever. It was just going to the movies, going out to eat, watching a movie, just stuff like that. And just me being young and stupid. So I kind of wasted a lot of time there. During this time, my dad took me and my sister and we went for a drive. And he kind of prepared us for what was about to happen because we all knew what was coming. And he kind of said, everything's going to be okay. Everything is going to be all right. We're going to be a family. We're going to survive this. We're going to get through this. And he made us that promise and kind of just let us know, hey, the end's coming. We just need to be prepared for it, but we need to not fray or stick together and we'll get through this. So we made that promise, and then I left back to school knowing it was coming. So I went back to school probably first week of January. And on that way back home, my parents received my report cards. I'm not going to get into too much detail right now because I'll talk about my college experiences in a separate video. But I had a hard time. I was battling depression, and that's been a black, dementor over my life, if you want to use Kate Miller-Heidke logic for staging. I failed every class my first semester of college. I was stressed out and wouldn't go to class. I couldn't even get out of bed in the morning. I didn't want to see anybody. There's some days I just stayed in bed all the time. The last conversation I had with my mom, she was talking about pulling me out of college and telling me how disappointed she was in me. She'd always supported me. Always. And I'm not angry at all for her for this. She had logic. I was doing terrible. But the last conversation I had with my mom was how bad I did in school. That bothers me so much that was the last conversation I had. God. That's haunted me every day since that was January. I want her to be proud of me. there's ever a way to lose somebody, having them tell you how disappointed they are in you is the last conversation you ever have with them. It's the worst feeling in the world. It's terrible. It's just awful. Because that was the last conversation I ever had. And this is one of the people I looked up to most in my life. It just felt like the biggest fucking failure in the world. Just in high school, I'd graduated with an Indiana Academic Honors Diploma. I've always been very smart, but lacked ambition. And I wouldn't read books and stuff, and I'd still get A's on the tests. It was too easy. School was easy for me. It's always been easy. But I just never put in the work to be great at it. I missed a whole fucking year. 7th grade. I missed a whole semester. And I came back and got all A's because I was sick for a while. And so I missed a whole semester, a whole 4 or 5 months of school. And then I came right back and got all A's because that's how fucking easy it came to me. So we talked for the last time driving. I was driving with my friend who we got back at the same time. So Tony, he took me back to Laramie from Denver. Nice little drive. And that was the last conversation I ever had with her. And she ended up passing away in February 10th. And that was 13 years ago, 2006. I got the call on a Friday. I had just gotten back from class. I had a renewed effort after my mom kind of gave me a kick in the butt. So I was going to class and doing whatever I needed to do, even though I was miserable about it. I had to get above a, I think, 2.0 or 2.5 GPA. The U.S. systems, we an A is a 4, a B is a 3, C is a 2. So I had to get a C average to stay in school. And I ended up getting the phone call after my men's choir class. I was encouraged to join the men's choir to keep my mind off it, to help me out and everything, and it was the best decision ever. It gave me a new purpose at that time. So I was in the men's choir and started singing first time right before my mom died. In fact, even after my mom died, that instructor, his name was Dr. Krieger, nicest guy ever. He called my house to check up on me to make sure we were okay, even though I was a new member of the choir, because he knew what happened, what was going on. He called me at home and, made sure everything was okay. And I thought it was the nicest thing. I actually had a professor that when I went home for a funeral, we had a test, and he flunked me for missing the test. And even with a paper note saying that my mom died and I was home for her funeral, he flunked me and refused to let me retake the test. I literally had to go to the school office and ask that they make him do that and let me retake the freaking test. And then he writes me, your test is due tomorrow, or you get to retest tomorrow. Don't be late. And that's his reply. He's pissed that I reported him for not letting me retake a test because my mom fucking died. Dr. William Moore, you are a fucking piece of shit. And so I went in and I took the test, and he gave me a 59, which is an F. as close to a D as you can get, but an F, and he wrote better than I expected on the test. Yeah. I actually got him back, though, and it was glorious when we had finals. And I knew I was going to fail the class because this guy had it out for me after I tried to get him to get the test. We sat there to take the finals. I was there on time, smile on my face. And I opened the booklet and I wrote, "This class was a complete waste of my time. You are one of the worst people I've ever met in my life." And then I closed the book. And after about 2 to 3 minutes, I walked up there, put the booklet on his desk, and walked out. I've never been more proud of myself in my life. That was me standing up for myself. And my friend said the look he gave me as I walked out was just epic. So, yeah, I failed that class. But the good news is I ended up saving the semester, and then I was able to ride a enormous GPA. I started going to classes and everything. So my mom, I guess, gave me the inspiration, kicked my butt, and I ended up getting a 3.8 or above, nearly an A average for the rest of my college experience until I eventually got into graduate school. So I did it. She just didn't know that I did it, and that's what hurts the most to me. It hurts like the things that you leave unsaid, things you wish you'd say, things you wish you could have done better. But going back to the day I found out she died, we were in. I was coming home from that music class, like I said, and I get the phone call. So I go and get tickets first of all to come home right away. I think I got tickets to come home on a Sunday, or leave on a Sunday and go back home. And my friends really touched me because they had me rides to and from Denver, which was a 2.5 to 3 hour drive from Laramie. They arranged all that. Not only that, they put together money to buy plane tickets so I could go home to the funeral. They all put money together, and they covered my entire trip back home. It was one of the nicest gestures I've ever seen in my life. And a particular guy named Nick really stepped up. Nick Stone stepped up. Admirable guy. And I'll be forever grateful to you and everybody else who helped me go home for my mom's funeral. You didn't have to do that, but you really made things a lot easier for me and my family. Also, Ty for driving me to the airport, Rachel for driving me back. You all helped me so much during that time. Kyle, my counselor, Kyle, if you all ever see this or any of this, then I appreciate you all so much for the help. It will never go unforgotten. Everybody from my floor that helped with that meant a lot to me and my family. So I didn't want to be alone that night. I didn't want to spend the night alone. So my friends mentioned there was a party, so we ended up going to a fraternity party. And I wore, I think it was a white shirt, because I think it was one where you draw on highlighters on people's shirts. And I just sat in the corner the entire night. Didn't talk to anybody. Just sat there thinking. I didn't want to be at home alone, just by myself. I didn't want to drink. And I just wanted to sit there. And my friends were very respectful. They were great. They tried to be as supportive as they could. And yeah, I ended up going home for the funeral. And we sat there. And I remember being at the funeral. It was the worst feeling. I wanted nothing to do with being there at all. Everybody's crying and everything. I didn't shed a tear at my mom's funeral. I didn't cry at all. I was just pissed off to be there. I was happy to be able to help carry her casket, but I didn't want to be there at all. And I still get flashbacks every once in a while. They played a particular song, a song that I both love and hate simultaneously. My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion was my mom's favorite song. They played it at her funeral. And every time I hear that song, even the beginning of it, I start tearing up. And it comes down like rain. I don't know why. I can't control it. I can't shut it off. Also, hearing Whitney Houston songs sometimes, like Serbook. I looked at a Serbook song, and Run to You, and that just brought back memories and stuff. Music can bring her back to life in my memory, which is a good and bad thing at the same time. But My Heart Will Go On was her favorite song. And so they played that, and everybody's crying. I have a flashback every time I even think of that damn song, just how horrible that moment was, where everybody's sobbing and crying, and I want nothing to do with hugging people or shaking hands. I just want to be gone and free and away from it all. And I don't mean to be selfish again, but during this whole time, nobody ever asked me how I was doing. My friends did, but, everybody was worried about other people. And I didn't talk about it much, so I really kept it in and held it, internalized it. So, after the funeral, I ended up going back to school. Like I said, I ended up doing pretty well that semester, other than my F from that idiot teacher. It's funny because bringing back that idiot teacher, I used to hang out with the professors, some of the other ones. We'd go outside and they'd sit there just talking about him like he's such a mean, nasty person. They didn't like him either. So it's funny that even his colleagues hated him. But I ended up going to work at a ranch over the summer in the mountains, and it was nice because I was given a professional camera to walk around with, and I would take pictures of moose and animals like that. So I'd shoot elk and with the camera, not shooting them. And I always got lucky and ran into turkeys and stuff, wild turkeys. So I'd find rabbits and bobcats and stuff like that. And I just loved being in the mountains. We'd wake up in the morning and there'd be moose there and everything. But I ended up coming home for the summer after 9 days because there were a lot of reasons, mostly that they weren't paying us and they were hiring us to do things that they basically made us slaves working on their house for like $5 an hour or something like that, when we were supposed to be working in a restaurant, making tips and making extra money. We were essentially doing grouting and stuff like that and making no money at all. So we ended up leaving, and I came home for that summer, and that ended up actually being, for the summer of losing my mom, one of my best summers ever. It was really good, other than a couple things. I met a girl who just screwed and messed with my mind like none other. I also fell in love for the first time that summer with another girl. And it was a very interesting, dynamic summer, I guess. But after that, my life went to complete hell for the next couple years. And I'll talk about that later. But after my mom died, and not long after, my dad was in a terrible car accident. And I'll talk about that later. It kind of spurred it. Then a bunch of other stuff happened. And losing my mom was the start of it. So I guess I'll save that for part 2. When I think of my mom, it's funny, some of the good things here. I know this is long-winded. Again, this is for me. I don't expect people to be interested in this or listen to this in its entirety. It's way too long and I'm too rambly, so I don't expect this to be a popular video at all. I'm just, I needed to do this. I really did. I've been telling people that I'm trying to find myself again, and I have been. I have the happy me you see. That's how I used to be all the time. and then I lost that for a long time. So I'm just trying to find my heart and who I am again. So my mom, good things about her, she loved kitties, she loved animals, she loved traveling, which really instilled that in me. Her dad was an absolute hero too. My grandpa, I loved my grandpa. He was a World War II veteran, and he helped free the Jews from Germany. He built bridges and helped people escape from concentration camps, and was a major war hero. He got shot in the leg twice, but he wouldn't leave his troop. He kept going on with them. Just one of the best people I've ever met. So it's no wonder that she turned out so well too. She wasn't perfect. She had her flaws. I'll talk about her a little more. She did one thing that really pissed me off in my life, which strangely was something she was mad about that her mom did to her. Might as well go talk about it now, because I don't know when I'll get a chance. So I don't want people to think I have this perfect image of my mom. But she told me this story about how her mother had a cat, and the cat got pregnant and had kittens. So her mom took the cat and took it to the pound, and all the kittens at the pound, and didn't tell her at all. So we have a cat, has kittens, and the first thing I would do when I get home, go out there and play with the kittens. I love the kittens. There were like 5 or 6 of them, all little black kittens, just so cute, little yellow eyes. I had one that I was really close to, and my mom was worried about the cat getting pregnant again. So she has my sister help her load all the cats up, and they go take them to the shelter. The good thing was it was a non-kill shelter, so hopefully they found a good home. But I got home and the cats were gone. And I go out there, I'm like, where's the kitties? And they're all gone. So I was heartbroken. I try to let that anger go too, because that's something I hated that my mom did. I could never hate her, but I hated that. It's good to remember that people aren't perfect and you can't put them on a pedestal. People make mistakes, and you can love them through their mistakes. And that's kind of what I've come to realize about that. I was upset with her. I've also done some terrible things to her. For one, she was making chili one day. It takes a ton of effort, a ton of money, and I put cat food in the chili. I don't know why. My sister caught me doing it and told my mom that I'd done it. And my mom made me dig out the cat food, find it, and then I showed her that I'd put it in there. And so she was pissed, and she made me eat all that chili, which I hated chili. That's probably one of the reasons I put the cat food in there. Hated chili at the time. I had to eat only that for the next 2 weeks. Other than at school, I could have the school meal. But at home, only chili until I ate all of it so it wouldn't go to waste. I had to have every single bite of it before I could eat anything different. Fair penalty, I'd say. That taught me a lesson. I never did that again. The other big thing was my mom told me I couldn't ride a golf cart with my friend, and he lived across the street. Not too smart when your mom can see you through the window, because we're on a bi-level, so we're on a second level, and she could see right out the window and see me riding the golf cart that she told me not to ride. She goes over there, gets me home, whips my butt with a spoon. It was a wood spoon, I think. I got spanked as a kid. That's why I have respect for other people. I got the metal spoon, the wood spoon, the belt, a tree branch. I don't think there were any others. I think the wood spoon felt the best. I don't like any of them. The tree branch was the worst, though, because my dad would be like, you go out in the woods, you get me a tree branch, and it better be big enough, because if I have to cut it myself, you're not going to like what I get. So it better be a good one. Make me go grab my own branch and then, beat me with it. Not literally beating, but spanking. I actually deserved it the time I'm talking about because I scratched my sister with a pen. I don't know why, but it wasn't a good thing, so I deserved the spanking there. But yeah, my mom loved the smell of vanilla. She loved her Whitney Houston and Celine Dion, Taylor Dane, and all these other pop singers. My dad liked country. My mom liked pop. So I'm much more like my dad in musical tastes, but my mom got me to at least appreciate some of the pop music. So hence I'm covering Eurovision. Yeah, but she loved animals. She loved to travel. She always believed in me, stood by me. It's a shame that, the last conversation I had was a terrible conversation, but I'm going to let that go. And I'm going to move on and not be pissed at myself anymore. I'm going to allow myself to forgive myself for some of the bad things I've done. And I'm going to focus on the good and what's to come. So, yeah. After my mom died, I did some volunteering at various cancer events and everything. I will always be a supporter of any, breast cancer cure or anything they can do to help and raise breast cancer awareness. That's one reason I'm wearing pink, is because pink ribbon represents breast cancer. I don't know if that's international. If you know, let me know, because I'm not sure. But yeah, I think I'm good for this part one. It's a long video, and if you made it through, I would be shocked. But some of you might be interested in my story, and if I can help anybody in any way, shape, or form, I'm always happy to do that. I'm going to be talking about other things that are hard. I want to talk about my battle with depression. I also battled with, eating problems and weight, which helps me relate to Kobe Marimi, the Israeli singer in Eurovision. Also some other things that are really hard to talk about. So I think these are going to help me therapeutically and to get over stuff. I'm trying to love myself, because I never have. I've always thought myself to be ugly, useless, fat, lazy, stupid. Think of any adjective that's negative, and those are all thoughts I've had about myself. I even had somebody that didn't know me that had kind of like a degree, I think, in psychology tell me, you really need to learn how to love yourself, because you don't. You have all this self-hatred, and you have all these talents and abilities, and you don't use them because you're spending too much time wallowing in your own grief and self-hatred. So, yeah, behind every big smile, there's a lot of hurt and pain. I think the people that smile the most are some of the people that probably have the hardest things in life they're going through, because it's a mask. It's a good mask. If you smile and everybody thinks you're happy all the time, they don't see the pain inside. So I definitely do that. I definitely have that problem. So I'm trying to get over that. I'm trying to reach my potential for once. I don't want to live this life and be 70, 80 and think about what I could have done or where I could have gone. I want to be proud of myself. I'm not right now, but I think I can be. It's going to take some work, though. I want to look up and say I've had a good life, and I did the best I could. Can't say that right now, but maybe in the future I'll be able to say that. So if you watch this long, tiresome video, thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to end it there. Mother's Day is tomorrow. It's a hard day. I miss my mom, but her spirit lives on in me. And if you've lost somebody important to you, the same goes for you. And I hope that you look at the issue, deal with the issue, and don't let it go on for 13 years like I have. And don't have the self-hatred and think of what could have been. let it go and talk about it. Get it out there. Even if you make a video, and make it for yourself and watch it. If you don't want to put it out there. I'm putting mine out here because I'm hoping it'll help some people. We'll see. But thank you. Thank you so much for your love and support. And I'm going to wrap it up. So thank you very much. And for now, Lethargic Sloth out.